Hello and welcome, heroes, to the Crit Academy. I am your host, Justin.
I'm your co-host, Brandon.
I'm your co-host, Ian.
And I'm today's guest, Paul, aka BC Beats.
This podcast was created to provide you, our heroes, with new and reusable material for both players and DMs.
We hope to inspire you with creative content that you can bring with you on your next adventure.
Our show may not be suitable for young children, but neither is our D&D games.
Nope. But that's how we like it.
They are not.
So we finally have a paid sponsor. So in our aired episode, you guys hear the one running for Jeff Stevens right here. You need to record that for me tomorrow if you can. I'll send you the write-up. So thank you for joining us here today at Crit Academy Studios, where everything's made up and your roles don't matter.
Yep, that's right. Your roles are like building a solo adventure without a good toolbox.
It's true.
A good screwdriver goes a long way.
We got a really great episode for you guys today. We like to start our show off on a high note, and we do that by giving away amazing prizes. Every single episode, we give away 3 adventures, compliments of our sponsors. The first one is compliments of Goblinstone. Brandon, who's our winner today?
Our winner today is Nick Mellon. What the fuck? With the picture.
Congratulations.
Great music.
Congratulations, Nick Mellon. You're this week's adventure. If you enjoy the adventure, please head on over and leave Goblinstone a review. If you do not know, one of the best things that you can do for a content creator is leave a review. It really goes a long way to helping them promote and improve their products. So definitely do that. So we got a really great show for you today. Obviously, we have an amazing special guest. We're super excited. So welcome back, Paul.
Thank you.
If you're just listening for the first time, Paul was on episode 71, I believe, solo D&D solo adventure. So definitely head back and check that episode out. You can lost my train of thought.
That's not hard.
Oh, shut up, asshole. Hey, Cody, welcome. So on today's show, we have our Let's Talk About Blank segment. We have a question in regards to pilfering from the rogue, which is kind of a thing. Our main topic is going to be the Solo Adventurer's Toolbox. I'm really excited to talk to Paul about that, so thank you for joining us. And then, of course, we have our final segment, our Unearthed Tips and Tricks, where we bring you new and reusable material for you to bring with you on your next adventure. But before all that, we spend a few minutes talking about what's going on in our lives. Paul, or what's going on in our realms? Paul, what's going on in your realm?
Just working hard on my next solo adventure, really. It's a sequel to an adventure that I've got up on the guild called Tables of Doom. This one's called Tables of Doom 2, and hard at work at that. And
Sounds really
cool. You want me to go into more detail about that?
That is entirely up to you. In the realm is just something that we talk about, kind of something we're working on. That's plenty good enough if that's all you want to discuss, or if you want to go into more, that's entirely up to you.
Sure, it's a little bit of a different thing. The first Tables of Doom was, as the name suggests, a whole lot of tables that trigger random encounters within the context of a solo adventure. This one uses a standard deck of playing cards. So as you're going through, you're given directions to draw cards, and different cards trigger finding items and monster encounters and that sort of thing. So
That's brilliant.
D&D, the framework of D&D, but randomized.
What was the name of that adventure?
It's called, the full name of it is Tables of Doom 2, Crypt of the Deceiver.
The way you described it reminded me of the PC game Hand of Fate.
Ooh. It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, man. There will be a link in the show notes to Tables of Doom. So
there is
the first one. The first
Yes.
one. It's the sequel that I'm working on at the moment. So, yeah.
Wonderful. I'll make sure the link is for our listeners there.
Cool.
Ian, what's going on in your realm?
Oh, not. I actually did a few things over the weekend. One thing I did was I actually went to TavernCon up in Bay City. And the biggest reason I went, though, was so I could play some Starfinder, which I love playing, but I was never get the opportunity to do so, because I found it to be a pretty fun sci-fi game.
Mm-hmm.
And I also made a meme for us that went around and seemed to do reasonably well on Facebook.
Yes, you've made a couple of them, actually. Which one are you referring to?
The Dennis one. Dennis.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to share that with Paul in case he didn't see it? Now, where did that start? There was a story. Is that something that came up in one of our conversations?
It came up last week.
Well, I built it off a conversation, a few other references here and there, but
Okay.
yeah. Who wants to read it?
I'll take it. So we have these conversations about the different meanings of characters all the time and how important a name is. So he created a meme that says, "Human fighter,"
The
orc champion. I, Dennis, challenge you, human, to single combat. The fighter. Really? Your name is Dennis? The elf wizard. Actually, directly translated from Orcish, his name is Lover of Skulls, with strong intonations of physical intimacy. What? Are you serious? You're telling me his name is Skullfucker? So we have a lot of those conversations, and
I can't lie. I saw that. I saw that already. It gave me a good giggle. That one.
yeah, it did make it pretty far, didn't it?
especially in the one Facebook page I posted on in particular.
Right.
So. And yeah, that was pretty fun.
That is cool.
Brandon, what's going on in your realm?
Not too much. I helped Justin with a haunted trail this last weekend.
Yes, you mean
Actually,
yesterday?
It was yesterday. Yeah.
Well, it was this weekend still.
Yeah,
so.
I guess.
And that was fun. It was cold and wet. And I got to be a dragon and scare kids.
Yeah, he dressed up as a dragon, had a big old wingspan and everything, was gnawing on skeletal bones. It was pretty fantastic. Did you have fun?
Yeah, I had fun. And I had that surprise too.
Yeah. We don't want to get into that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you came. Thank you for helping.
There's almost what happened. Oh yeah, I was working on your creatures for the book. Those been sent through the email. I started working on Durzo's commission. It's ready to be inked and colored now.
Wonderful.
It looks good.
They're
Yeah.
great.
What's going on in your realm?
So I had a
Just-
joygasm this week.
Dim.
Anybody that's ever listened to I'm pretty sure I've talked about Phantom Dust on the show.
Yes.
One of my favorite games all time is Phantom Dust. It's this, you cast spells, you send fireballs, and then you have to, block, trigger block with shields by pressing them before the impact and all this really cool stuff. I saw this trailer for a pre-alpha game called Spellbreak.
Yeah.
It 100% reminds me of that.
It did.
And never in my history of gaming have I ever wanted to buy into a pre-alpha. Ever.
And it's a battle royale.
I was ready to drop $100. The only reason I didn't get into it is because they sold out before I got home. So I was devastated. But I've been following on Twitter and commenting and posting. I've been way more active on that shit than I should be. So I'm super excited for that.
So that's what happened.
Yes.
It's a battle royal.
Yes, it's an arena, just like Phantom Dust is. But you mix and match, your gauntlets are magical, and you mix and match the different elements. So if I do an acid glove and a fire glove, I can shoot these acid pits and then light the bastards on fire with the fire glove. And you can interact the different magical effects to get combination effects, which is awesome.
That sounds fun.
I remember.
Hell yeah.
I remember when I watched the footage and the description of it. My friends were like, the battle royale game I want is a superhero one, which no one's made. But this seems pretty dang close.
It is pretty close. So I'm super excited for that. I know that's not D&D related, but I was really geeking out about it. So, well, I think that'll do it for In the Realm. Ian, if they'd like to visit other realms, how can they do so?
They can visit other realms by going to our website, critacademy.com, and they can click the link that takes them to Audible, where they can get a free 30-day free trial and a free book. Audiobook, that is.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
definitely. Recommend. Durzo and I keep talking back and forth. He just finished the Way of Kings, the Brandon Sanderson Stormlight Archives trilogy. And we've been talking our theories back and forth. So
I finally
awesome
started the
stuff.
second book.
What do you think?
I finally started the second book.
What do you think of the first one?
I liked it.
Fuck yeah, you did.
So why would he start the second one?
I don't know what I think about it yet. I'm still in the first chapter.
Whatever. So that'll all right. So moving on to our next topic, we have our let's talk about blank. This question comes to us from Raluca M. Hi guys, me and my friends just started playing D&D, and I got to be the DM. Lucky you. We started just playing the Lost Mines of Phandelver. After defeating a monster, the rogue asked. I put in chicks, but I'm certainly that's supposed to be chicks.
Yeah.
The rogue asked to.
Maybe he wants chickens.
Check check the monster's pockets secretly for loot for himself. One of the other guys started arguing with him and said he shouldn't do that. In the end, as I was not really sure how to proceed, I asked him to make a stealth check, and he failed and had to split the loot with the party. The rogue's explanation was that he doesn't know yet the other party members, and he's a criminal background. What do you guys think about this situation? Actually, Paul, if you'd like to let us know, I know you have a lot of experience with this, I'm sure. How would you handle this?
Oh my god, you know what? I was just zoning out and looking at the show notes for a second, and I kind of missed it. What?
We're on the segment 2. If you want to read that question to yourself real quick and then respond.
Okay.
It's not a big deal. We can cut through this. Snip, snip.
Boss one defend Delver, defeating a monster.
If you only had any idea how often that happens to me. I just nod and go ahead.
Yep. Yep.
Just like that.
So he wanted to check the monster's pockets for himself.
He basically wanted to steal and pilfer without the party knowing.
Without the other players knowing.
Yeah.
I'd probably use the other player's passive perception, and just maybe get the rogue to make a secret stealth roll to the GM, and then, which is very easy to do on roll 20. And then just check that against the other player's passive perception to see if anyone, or ask for a perception roll potentially. But it's never a good idea for the rogue to get into that secret looting, and I'm not a big fan of it as a DM.
Is there a particular reason why?
Kind of tends to alienate the party. The rest of it. But if that's the route they want to take, then you gotta make it happen, I guess.
What do you guys think?
I do think the player's explanation is reasonable. It's like, I am a rogue, I do have a criminal background, and I don't know these people, and I don't have any reason to trust them in particular, so I could see how he could be behaving that particular way.
Right.
I think they handled it the way it should have been handled. Was that the other players are arguing against it, and she let them do it anyway.
And then called for a check that unfortunately didn't fall in the rogue's favor. Yeah. And because of that, the party's like, no, asshole.
Yeah.
You're not taking our shit.
Well, you know how it is. There's only one thing you can do when they're all dead. Look at their pockets for loose change.
Yeah. So I agree with you, Paul. I do think that actions like this alienate the party. Raluca, if you're listening to this, the best thing you could do is talk it over with your party members about how they feel about that sort of stuff and kind of come to a consensus whether it's going to be allowed, and if it is, to what degree. Because personally, as a player, if I kept killing shit and not finding loot and not getting any value, and then all of a sudden the dagger guy here is damn near immortal with a super fucking cape, magical daggers, and a fucking ring of FU, I mean, I'd be pretty pissed off. So I think that's something you want to approach to the entire crew. I think that's usually a discussion that happens in session 0, where before you're ready to start the campaign. But I do think you handled it appropriately. I think in 5th edition, the appropriate check would probably be like a sleight of hand check specifically. But you let the dice tell the story, and I think that is the best thing you could have done. I agree with Paul. Using the passive perception is probably the thing that made the most sense in that particular situation, and it fit with the theme of your character. But keep in mind, with a theme like that, you're depending on how often you do that, you're probably not going to be an adventurer with the party for very long.
And keep in mind, actions do have consequences.
Oh yeah, if they catch you doing it, you better bet your ass they're
Yeah.
going to slit your throat. Well, I guess it depends on what you're taking. Probably not like a quarter or something, or a copper piece, but
That'd be a great magic item.
what?
The Ring of FU. A ring worn on your middle finger, and once per day, when you flip off a monster or a creature that you can see, it has disadvantage on its next attack roll against you.
Against anybody else except for you. It's a taunt. Fuck you. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for our Let's Talk About Blank segment. Thank you very much for your submission, Raluca. If we didn't answer your question, please send a letter to the complaint department with a $5 check attached, and we will expedite your complaint to the front of the trash can. All right. Moving on to our main topic, and really the big reason why we're all here, and mostly why Paul is here. Our main topic today is the Solo Adventurers Toolbox. We're going to be interviewing its creator, Paul, aka BC Beats. So we wanna thank you for joining us once again. I'll mention you previously were on the show, episode 71. Definitely check that out. I got a lot of awesome experience going through your adventures. So thank you for giving us that opportunity. We really enjoyed it.
No, and thank you for having me on the show again. It's hugely appreciated.
Thanks for coming back. I always wonder, like, man, we really fucking wasted our time with those assholes in hiding out in that room. So before we really get into the nitty gritty, there's a question we would like to ask you. We've talked about, we've had you ask a few questions before, but there's one that I've been asking recently to all of our guests, and I'd love to hear your response. I know you've been a DM probably for a really long time, or even as a player. Has there ever been a moment where you, as the DM, actually, before we get into that, I didn't even put it in here. Do you want to spend a few minutes and tell us a little bit about yourself and your solo adventures?
Yeah, sure. Well, as you probably told from my accent, I am from New Zealand and creative writer, role player for a long time, since the 80s, really. 84 was when I got in, and also a huge fan of game books and board games and everything kind of role-playing related. So have you guys heard of the series Fighting Fantasy Game Books? Steve Jackson and Livingston?
Stuff? Yep.
You heard of those? Yep.
Yes,
Hang
sir.
on, just bear with me a second. Yeah, there's all sorts of... I've got a huge collection of game books. Here's a really good one. Fabled Lands.
Mm-hmm.
Seven books in this series, and it's basically just like a huge world done in gamebook style, basically. So it'll tell you go to the century to explore here, or a book will say go to book 5 this entry to continue your adventure. And so, I'm a huge fan of these game books. And when 5th edition came out, and I had a little bit of a hiatus from D&D, got back into it with 5th edition, and just saw that there wasn't really, the solo adventure market wasn't really being catered for at all. So that's when I just threw myself into writing adventures and that sort of thing. So and here we are now.
And I think solo adventures are something we haven't really seen in a while either. And a lot of people underestimate them. So
Right, and if I'm not mistaken, they came up in some of the earlier editions, like the Red Box and stuff.
right, especially to teach players the game.
Yeah, that was my first experience with D&D, was playing the little solo adventure that got included with the Red Box.
And let's face it,
So,
as
yeah,
kids, I think all of us love those choose your own adventure books. This
Mhm.
seems to be that, just better.
Oh, for sure. Actually,
It's
your solo adventure format was actually the inspiration for a panel that we ran at a convention.
We never
and-
did finish that adventure, did we?
well, had to go back to ShooterCon. So we actually took your idea and molded our own adventure, and we let the audience choose the big decision points. It was really fun. We had a blast.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think maybe we can run a live stream for that. That would be cool.
That would be cool.
Oh,
I
we
made
could do that
a-
for episode 100.
I made a giant D20 for them to roll, and think I may have jacked up the geometry of it because it kept rolling 1s, 16s, and 17s.
Whatever.
Hey, I just wrote an Eberron solo adventure recently, which a lot of people have told me is my hardest solo adventure I've ever written. It's called The Savior of Shan. So if you want to, I think that'd be good for that format because there's a lot of death in that adventure. It's pretty hard.
I love death. If you want to send a link to that through the Facebook, I'll include it in the show notes.
Sure.
And that'll get it some attention as well. Maybe I'll blare it later too.
Cool.
All right. So in all your time playing D&D and other role-playing games, have you ever failed as a DM or a player? And is there any? And what did you learn from that experience?
No.
Honestly, didn't expect that.
It was the reaction on the camera that made it better. Just how he leaned into it and was like,
I don't
no.
fail as a DM.
Fair enough.
My players call me Almighty One. That should give you some indication.
Almighty One.
Yeah.
So do they
Just how good I am.
Do they slaughter lambs and beckon to your greatness before the session starts?
My biggest fails are probably accidental TPKs. I think where I don't spend quite as much time as I should balancing an encounter and kill one or two players or something. But not that doesn't happen. It's been a long time since that's happened.
So you've learned something from that experience.
I'm pretty diligent with balancing. Oh yeah, I've learned to actually take the time to page 82 of the DMG, figure out all the encounter thresholds, make sure it's all, and just have a pre-made list of, easy, medium, hard, deadly, and what that might consist of. So easy might be or 2 CR half monsters or 1 CR 1 monster, and just actually pre-list the combos that I can use for those encounter levels. It just makes it, I can really quickly put an encounter together for my group type thing. So yeah.
Okay, very cool.
All right, so moving forward, tell us about the Solo Adventurers Toolbox.
Sure. Okay. Well, basically, for anyone who's played my solo adventures before, you know that within those there's always a limited amount of choices as to what you can do within the adventure. Like, you'll get to a junction, and it will say, can you go? You can go north, take the north path, the west path, or the east path. And so the toolbox is a huge range of different tables, mechanics, that sort of thing, that kind of attempts to create an environment where you can make any decision in a solo adventuring context, where you're not limited by the narrative text. So have you guys, you must have heard of Mythic GM Emulator?
Yep.
You heard of that?
I heard that from when you shared it with us when you were on the episode the last time. Ha!
Yep. So basically, it's a way of getting answers to any question you might want to ask. So hang on, I've got my journal here because I do a lot of solo adventuring on my own. I basically created the toolbox to partially for myself, so I could do a lot of solo adventuring in my own time. So, for example, a question might be, let's see, so just recently, my 3 characters were investigating a town called Norringate, where some creatures from, it's the equivalent of the Underdark in my world, the Nameless Depths, they'd escaped and they were rampaging through the town. Several of these monsters killing things and killing the citizens who a lot of them had fled. So they made their way into the town and started searching around, couldn't find anything. They came to a public square, this one containing a jailhouse. They can hear the inmates inside. like bait, Rawley remarks grimly. So I always do journaling when I'm solo adventuring, just to keep track of everything.
Mm-hmm.
The jail stands against the wall. They make their way forward, and then I ask the question of the system: do the prisoners sound distressed? So now a D20 roll will give me the answer to that question. So 1 to 6 is a no, 7 to 12 is a maybe, 13 to 20 is a yes. And then there's likelihood modifiers. So depending on circumstances, there might be, if the outcome is likely, then it's +2. If the outcome is very likely, +4. If it's a certainty, then it's +6. So I rolled, I got a natural 20. So yes, they sound very distressed. They're screaming, they're freaking out. There's definitely something in there. So they went in there and combat began. So that's a question answer mechanic that is part of it. There's also a huge range of tables, like random encounter tables. There's a D100 table for random encounters in wilderness setting, dungeon setting, and urban setting. There's NPC tables to generate any amount of NPCs you might need to use. I'm not sure if you guys know the random dungeon generator in the DMG.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a version of that. I've got my own random dungeon generator in there. There's also one thing that I spent quite a bit of time on. I'm quite proud of, is a random wilderness generator, which is kind of like exploration, hex crawling. But you discover the terrain as you journey through it, and there's major features, there's minor features, and there's potential for encounters built into all those locations. And there's quite it's 16 chapters long.
Yeah, it's big.
It's like what?
17 chapters long. Yeah, 167 pages, and I think I've just about got every aspect of that you could possibly need for freeform solo adventuring
So
in there. So yeah,
so
I've thought of a few things recently that I'm going to. Yeah.
I'm sorry, you cut out there. What was that last statement?
Yeah. I just said I've thought of a few things since that I'm going to use for Volume 2, which I'm going to work on next year. But yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's if I ask you to repeat something, I do apologize. There does appear to be occasionally a glitch coming in through there. So
Well, you are skipping it from New Zealand, so
yeah, it's a long ways away. So you mentioned the journaling. It sounded like you were reading something. Is that something you wrote out as you're doing the adventure?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I got my little exercise book here, and I just have my character sheets glued in the back, so I don't have to sort of be referencing those. And I just handwrite notes. It's for I do all my soloing in my homebrew world so that I can fill in details and flesh out my homebrew world as I'm going through it. So I'm kind of, it's filling two purposes at once, kind of thing. So yeah, I just use a school exercise book and just write as I go. Not every single aspect. Like if my characters might go into a dungeon, I'm not like I'll go into a junction and take the left turn and then take the right turn. I'll kind of do a lot of summing up. But yeah, I think when you're doing that solo adventuring, journaling just helps to make it a bit more concrete, a bit more tangible.
Sure.
Now, and that's something that's really interesting, because I've always perceived journaling and writing as something for the team to remember all the important details, but it sounded like you're doing it in such detail that you almost have a short story at the end of it.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I could easily take this and turn it into a piece of fiction, or the other sort of benefit of the style of solo adventuring is, as a DM, I can now go back and turn that into an adventure for a party. I mean, I'm soloing with 3 PCs myself, so I could
you
add
have
as many PCs, and it will already be balanced for that amount of PCs at that level, kind of thing.
So you're running an entire party yourself. Is that right?
I'm soloing with 3 characters. That's right.
So
That never get
that's
confusing.
that's what I was going to say. Does that
So that
I don't think so, actually.
that's not difficult at all?
control. Yeah, I'm controlling. No, not at all. I'm controlling 3 separate. Yeah, you just instead of controlling 1 PC, you're controlling 3, and it's the same. You're making the decisions for those PCs according to their own priorities and that sort of thing, and you're kind of playing the role of ODM at the same time.
Right.
Just because sometimes there'll be, but the whole point of the system is unpredictability. So you never actually know, even though you're running the adventure, you yourself don't know what's around the next corner, kind of thing. So that's how the system's set up. It's set up to randomly generate as you adventure through. So yeah, that's a lot of the problem with soloing using pre-made adventures, is that to a certain extent you kind of need to know what's around the next corner. So I thought, well, that's not ideal, because discovery is a big part of D&D, right? Exploration, discovery. So it needs to kind of have that element of unpredictability. So I think I've achieved that.
I'm kind of envious of you. I'm going to be honest. I think you have nailed how to get all the players to work, or all the characters to work in unison.
Right?
Run them yourself.
Yeah. Well, the other great thing about solo adventuring is it's always your turn.
That's funny.
Yeah. All right. And how would you say generating encounters for a solo adventure is different from having the normal encounter building and, by extension, quests?
Sorry, I'll have to get you to repeat that. It's a little patchy.
All right.
Yeah.
How is generating encounters for a solo adventure different from having the normal encounter building and, by extension, regular quests?
So how is generating encounters for a solo adventure different to a party adventure?
Yeah.
Good question. Yeah, it is different. If you're soloing with 1 PC, you have to be very, very careful. If I find that with writing solo adventures, you have to be very careful with balance. Super careful, because there's only one PC. So all XP gets multiplied by 1.5, even if there's only 1 creature in the encounter. The multiplier is 1.5, because the party member is, there's only 1 party member. And I think that rule is it's in Xanathar's or Mordenkainen. It's one of those. It's a little bit of an extra tweak to those XP threshold guides given in the DMG. But yeah, once you get, so that a lot of, reason I solo with 3 PCs is so I can actually have full-blown encounters, kind of thing. But yeah, you do have to be very careful. So a single level 4 PC, a CR1 monster is going to be a pretty decent challenge for a level 4, or a CR1 or CR2 is going to be. It's going to be a decent fight for a single level 4 PC. So you, balance becomes very, very important. I use a lot of playtesters. I've got like a small playtest army, as a matter of fact, that I'll pass out my adventures to, and they run through it. There's some really committed guys in there who'll run through my adventure for me like 3, 4, 5 times, checking every single encounter, making sure it's all balanced. So by the time it gets to the players, they know they're getting a really balanced adventure. So yeah.
On the topic of encounters, how do you deal with monster tactics? Without a DM behind the control of the creatures, how do you ensure smart competitive play?
Okay, great question. Yeah, because with solo adventuring, combat encounters can tend to evolve into sort of like stand adjacent and bash kind of thing. So no, what I've done is I've included a chapter in the toolbox. It's called "What Do the Monsters Do?" and basically it's a bunch of tactics and a bunch of D100 rolls. So I'll just pull it up actually. Let's see. So the first thing that's determined in the Monster Tactics chapter is distance of the monster from the PCs. And I've got a few to determine that. You can just simply a die roll. You can determine it with stealth. And then I've got a few different tables that talk about intentions and tactics. So a D100 roll. So a roll of 1 to 4, which I got the other day. Monster flees, scared witless at the sight of you. 5 to 9. Monster is curious, stay some distance away, checking you out before approaching. If a beast, may be open to befriending. Make charisma check with advantage. If successful, you could take as companion.
Cool.
10 to 14. Monster will stalk you, always staying well out of range, perhaps waiting for you to become wounded or disadvantaged in some way. So 15 to 19. Monster will stay at distance and make ranged attacks, picking away at you. If you try to come near it, will flee. But the main one is a roll of 31 to 70 will be monster simply attacks purely out of instinct. So that's the one that you're going to get most of the time.
Sure.
So yeah, and that's the one that generally tends to come up most of the time.
Right.
Yeah. So there's a few different things, and then round by round, I've got a monster reaction table. So
I love it.
So for example, 1 to 4. A D100 table, 1 to 4. If monster is dropped to less than % HP, it flees, provoking an attack of opportunity if necessary, taking double movement. There's opportunities for intimidation. If you scored 50% or more of the creature's HP and damage during the last round, creature makes a wisdom check. If it fails, the creature disengages and then moves away. If combat is not started, the monster is busy with something else and does not initially see the PC as a threat. If the PC does not attack, they can probably pass without any incident. So, but then 33 to 72, again, creature uses its main attack. So, you're rolling for monster tactics and monster intentions, but generally speaking, it's going to attack because, we were given all DMsguild creators a little while ago were given a bunch of style guides by Wizards of the Coast. We weren't given them by Wizards of the Coast, but they put out one for the DMsguild creators, and it just said monsters are there to kill, basically, and to be killed. So and treasure is there to be gotten from the monsters, and it just really stripped it down to the essence of D&D, and when you're writing adventures, keep these things in mind, that sort of thing. So mainly it's the monster will attack, but there's other things that may happen as well. And when they happen, it provides a bit of variety to the encounters and that sort of thing. So yeah, I have tried to get some monster tactics in there.
So these are really interesting. I think this is a very cool way to handle it because it's turned to the point of the dice roll. Gives you that randomness, and that was one of the things I was originally concerned about when I was playing a solo adventure. Is okay if I'm fighting the monster and the monster's just going to attack. There isn't any strategy here, but you've developed a table that really gives that character options, even if the larger portion of it is just taking an attack action. So I think that is really really cool and very well done.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool. And honestly, I think that that was actually one of the things originally when I first heard about D&D solo adventures that I was concerned about because early on before I played your Knight's Squire, I think is it Knight's the Knight Squire. I was concerned that it
Squire. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Death Knight Squire. Yeah.
Right. Death Knight Squire.
Just a bitch there.
Been a while.
Yeah, no, I totally hear you. Yeah.
And you handled that really, really well. And the other thing in kind of regards to encounters, is there a way to deal with multiple options? Like, let's say I bring a wizard to the adventure. How have you approached the fact that he's not strength based, or he's not a lock pick? I mean, how does your toolbox? Is there anything in your toolbox to say, okay, this is what you have to deal with when you have specific characters? Because, you know, if you bring the big dumb brute, he's not going to be able to figure out a complex puzzle. So does your toolbox address something like that?
Good question. Basically, the thing that springs to mind is that I mentioned this several times throughout the toolbox. Some as like the pseudo DM of your solo adventure, you may have more knowledge than the character that you're using in the solo adventure has. So you know that it's like, okay, there's a secret. Like, for example, very often there'll be a secret door in a dungeon that you've determined through using the random dungeon generator, but that doesn't necessarily mean that your PCs are actually going to find that secret door, or even know to look for it, type thing. So yeah, basically, in terms of characters, I quite often will use the question answer mechanic to determine whether things occur to them, or I might, for example, make you mentioned a barbarian, to see if he actually has the intellect to figure something out. Just make a straight wisdom or a straight intelligence check to see if he actually figures that out.
Right.
And in terms of DC, I've just reprinted in there the DC guide from the Dungeon Master's Guide, which is where is that? I'll just pull that up actually. Let's see. Skill checks. It is expected that as you play, you will make skill checks as you see appropriate for your PCs. For this purpose, and if no other option is apparent, you can use the DCs given on page 238 of the Dungeon Master's Guide as your guide. So, DC 5, very easy. DC 10, easy. Moderate, 15. Hard, 20. Very hard, nearly impossible, 30. So,
right.
Yeah, I reprint that in there. And also, all throughout, I cite the DMG throughout the book, because there's a huge amount of solo resources, solo adventure resources in the Dungeon Master's Guide, that I hope will, players will go through the toolbox and go, well, the Dungeon Master's Guide has a random dungeon generator, and it's got loot tables that I can use in solo adventuring, and it's got ways that I can determine the nature of skillments and, all this other stuff. I'm going to go out and get a Dungeon Master's Guide. Great. And then all of a sudden, they've become Dungeon Masters themselves, because they realize how much fun it is to create their own worlds and that sort of thing. I'm not sure if that actually answers your question, but yeah. But yeah, sometimes you'll have more knowledge, basically.
The one thing that I think is interesting about solo adventures, at least when I ran Death Knight Squire, is that because there isn't a group of players, when I failed a check, I didn't just keep trying until I succeeded. I used that knowledge to push my character in another direction to bypass that challenge. And I might have touched on that when we discussed it when it first came out, because that was the one thing that really stood out about it when I played it myself, is that, I failed. Well, I could roll again, but that's my character has he tried to solve the puzzle and couldn't figure it out, so
looks clear.
Yeah. Hey, no traps, okay, I'm going to move forward, And that's something that I think in D&D naturally occurs where, the thief checked for traps and rolled really low. I want to check too. In reality, if the professional trap detector tells you it looks clear, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be like, okay, let's go. And that's something I think that really stands out in a solo adventure.
A professional trap detector.
Yeah, just a
barbarian?
second.
What's that?
That's funny.
Sorry, all good. Yeah, no, it's you did right, and that's the thing. you kind of do have to be like a pseudo DM in these adventures, so it's just you kind of have to wear two hats
Right.
a little bit. Yeah.
Barbarian, check your traps. Kaboom! Clear.
You want to take that next one?
Yep.
That's funny.
And how would you handle interactions with shopkeepers and merchants, and what inventory they carry?
Okay, I got you covered. I got a chapter called Merchants and Shopping.
Welcome, stranger. What are you buying? I had to.
So you can get as detailed as you want. I've got here a DC for occurrence of merchants institutions based on settlement size. So there's a list of every type of merchant you could imagine, and the likelihood of that merchant appearing in a small settlement, hamlet, village, town, city, or metropolis. So obviously, it's going to be pretty hard to find spell tomes and scrolls in a small settlement or hamlet. So the DC for that is, for a hamlet, it's 19. For a small settlement, it's 20. But if you might come into a small settlement. I want to figure out if there's any places selling spell tomes. Roll natural 20. Oh my god! So there's actually a magician here who's set up a little shop in this tiny little, not even a hamlet, selling spell scrolls. So the possibility is there. Then there's another table after that. So as you might have guessed by now, there's just oodles of random tables. Quality of merchant, atrocious, poor, medium, good, excellent. DC for finding items by merchant quality. And then there's NPC generators, so you can figure out who's running the shop. And there's a chapter there too about interactions with NPCs, role play basically in the solo format, and getting people to sort of go along with your agenda and that sort of thing. But yeah, again, a lot of it can come back. You can fall back if unsure. You can always fall back on the question answer rolls. That D20 roll, which in the Mythic system, it's a D100 roll. So I've basically taken the Mythic method of question answer rolls, and which is with a D100 and quite involved, and has a chaos factor as well, which is quite cool. And just used a D20 roll, a very, very stripped down system that is very easy to remember what the modifiers are and all that sort of thing. So yeah, does that cover that question?
Yeah, no, you nailed it. There's a method to my madness, and we'll get to it later.
Got a lot of good things on sale, stranger.
So
I mainly like Resident Evil 4.
we mentioned you've got kind of tables and stuff to deal with those interactions, right?
What do you do, or what do you say to players who say one of the missing elements from solo plays is role playing? How do you role play with a bunch of mechanics? Otherwise, you're just pretty much talking to yourself, right?
I do that.
So a Tuesday?
A Tuesday.
Yeah. Good question. And as an answer, I'm going to read to you from the introduction to my chapter, Roleplay in the Solo Format. The one element that many players have said is missing from solo gaming is the element of roleplay. This is just part and parcel of the format. How do you roleplay with a bunch of mechanics? The simple answer is you don't.
he's honest and right up front about it. That's awesome.
So basically, I guess in the solo format, roleplay can mean playing your characters true to form. So even though you know that the wisest decision for your barbarian, as you mentioned before, might not be to step straight onto the pressure plate, that might just be exactly what they do. So it's a I think I've got a system here that I've developed. The system of solo roleplay that I've created is structured around roles to determine the outcome of interactions. Your PC is trying to get whoever they are interacting with to agree with them, in italics, agree. In the context of the system, agreeing means one of the following things: concurring with their opinion, going along with the course of action they're seeing, bending to their will, providing details or information requested by the PC. So first, friend or foe, that must be established, or neutral. Then charisma modifiers, persuasion, intimidation, deception, and an emotional modifier, the NPC. So I've got a list of pretty much every emotion you could think of and what the modifier is for that. And then you make a QA roll, a question answer roll, based on those modifiers to see if the NPC's in alignment with you, or whether they just, aren't taking a shine to you at all, or however the situation might go, kind of thing.
Kind of in a similar vein too. This reminds me of like this introduction. I don't think it just applies to solo adventures though, in the sense of like, okay, there's no role playing here because, let's face it, you're always going to run to that player who has the mentality of it's called role playing, not role playing, being ROLL. And I think a lot of people,
right.
and I think a lot of people forget those. Like, I'm sorry, dude, but that's kind of a dumb phrase because both are legitimate methods to play the game, and both have equal opportunities to have fun. And I think people forget that sometimes.
I also think, because I've thought about this in depth, and role playing. I mean, you're controlling PCs in an imaginary fantasy world.
Yeah,
that is role playing, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Regardless of the fact whether you're getting like deep into the character, and as a player, I've always struggled with the whole kind of like, the voice thing, that sort of thing. It's but you're controlling a PC, you're making decisions for them. That's role playing, and in my book, Dungeons and Dragons has a lot of different aspects to it, and all of them you could say fall under the banner of role playing. In addition, really deep, where you get getting the character of the role playing. I think.
Yeah, I agree 100%. There's more to it, and I think we've Ian and I have had a discussion about this numerous times on the show. That I know one of your favorite parts is the combat and the numbers and the building a big powerhouse, right?
Yeah, and the other thing too is like having that same vein. A lot of people forget that Dungeons and Dragons originated from wargaming.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I, on the other hand, am less interested in that stuff, and it reflects in a lot of the characters I run, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I don't. That's not something that interests me as much, but I understand that is part of the game that people love.
And let's face it too, like there's some times where like you run to a guy, you need information. Some player may go, you know what? If you don't talk to us, if you don't give us the information, we are going to turn you into the police. Whereas some of the players just may go, I roll to intimidate. And there's honestly nothing wrong with either approach.
You're not wrong. That's and I think this tool, the solo adventures as a whole, as well as the toolbox, are really good ways to experiment and really discover yourself a little better. Because when you're playing by yourself, I love to read. So being able to interact, like there's been so many times where I've been reading a book, and I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you? You wouldn't do that. Don't do that. And this really gets me involved in that, and I get to make that decision. I get to drive the story. I get to be in charge. And that's one thing I think makes solo adventures awesome. And I think that that's probably why you have such a good untapped resource, because I haven't seen really any other than the ones you put out. So that being said, I think you did a really great job. I think this is an amazing tool. I have to ask, was this God, now that you pointed out how ridiculous it sounds. So was this something that was a solo creation, or do you have like a crew of people that really help on it, or is it mostly you, or only you?
I gotta say that he really.
It's 100.
I guess I answered earlier.
He really wanted to do the pun. I could just see it in his face.
Sorry.
Yeah. I see where you're getting at now. Yeah. Took me a while. Must be the mileage. But must be the lag, the intercontinental lag. So yeah, no, I do have a huge amount of playtesters though.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't really discount their input. You know, they make a lot of suggestions, and occasionally they make suggestions that require me to do a whole lot of work. But you know, they're always valuable suggestions. But have you run a session using the toolbox?
I did
No.
it myself. I created one, but I haven't run it yet.
Okay.
So I have an
Yeah.
adventure that I've written, and I'm
Yeah.
ready to sit down with a level 5 character. But as I looked over it the other day, I'm pretty sure I'm going to die. Because
Yeah.
I don't know
Because
if I did the experience change to the monsters.
all you need to do to run an adventure with the toolbox, you just need a setting, any setting. You
Mhm.
know, Forgotten Realms, Eberron, your own route, and a character, or you know, several characters, and that's all you need.
Yep.
You just need you know, information on the setting and your characters, and you know, pretty much everything else. Like if you need monster stats and that, you'll need those. But pretty much everything is generated by the toolbox and the tables contained inside it.
It's very
So yeah.
possible that I put more work into that because I was listening to Aragon, so I've redone all of Hellgrind in Aragon, and so I put a bunch of stuff in. Maybe I put more work into that than I needed. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna be fighting the custom monster, the Razak.
Uh,
But I'm excited to try that. And actually, that leads me into something that I wanted to ask you. Um, would you agree that while targeted for solo play, this massive collection of tables is a valuable tool for any DM, whether they plan to use it just for solo adventures or not?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, that's certainly how I intended it to be, to have that dual purpose. You know, when I was writing it, I was definitely had in mind I want this to be useful for my fellow DMs as well. So where I sort of I added a little bit of extra detail here and there that I knew DMs would find useful, kind of thing, especially in the wilderness exploration tool, which for example, just to break that down, you've got your overarching terrain. So you've got Arctic, coastal, desert, forest, jungle, grassland, hills, mountain, and swamp. And as you move through that, every 5 miles you make a D100 roll. And often you'll get continuation of the same terrain, but every now and then, 50% of the time, you'll get a minor feature because, if you think about, say, 5 miles of forest, that's actually quite a big distance. So, like just heading to the forest table, you might roll, you might get a clearing, small clearing, large clearing, small wooded gully, large wooded gully, waterway, lake, clearfield area, rocky outcrop, swamp, unmarked forest settlement, structure, monument, monster lair, interesting landscape feature. And there's a table for all of those things as well. So you roll swamp, you go to the swamp minor feature table. And then there's notes on standard swamp, 25% easy encounter, thick, dense swamp, almost impossible to traverse, extending in all directions forward, extremely difficult terrain, movement slowed to quarter of normal, hard encounter 50%. So, it's, if you were constructing a wilderness as a DM, that's, I think, a really useful collection of tables. And even if you're the type of DM that likes to sort of run improv adventures as they're going through, you can just obviously creating the maps for this is something you might want to do beforehand, but you can say, oh, you've blundered into a swamp, and now you're being attacked by this creature or that creature. So there's I think there's a lot of useful stuff there for DMs, and it was definitely intended that way. In fact, Non-Zero Sum Games is a website, did a review, and it was a really short review. It just said, "Must for players, a must for DMs." So I thought that was pretty complimentary.
That nails it. It really does. Well, you've shared a wealth of knowledge to us today, and we really appreciate it. I love this product. Like I said, I'm planning on using it for some of my my DM prep because I'm gonna be honest, I'm a very very lazy DM. Like I already just do bullet points, so having a tool that's like, well, that's going there. I'll add that there too. Oh, that's cool. This is a very good tool for this, especially with like the interactions of like the merchants being in special locations. That is an awesome tool for determining if you like to do like the random wandering special character. That's a tool you could use that for. So I really enjoy it. Before we close out here, I have to ask. And I think you briefly touched on it before. Is there a special project that you're working on that you'd like to give our Crit Nation a little bit of a taste of? I know you touched on something earlier.
Yep. So as I mentioned, I'm a massive fan of board games. I don't know if I did mention that actually, but I'm making a new adventure called Tables of Doom 2. Where I'm always trying to, within these adventures, increase the randomness, increase the variety of things that could happen. So basically what it is kind of board game style. You go through a map. You journey through an isometric wilderness map at first. Later you go to a dungeon map. And there's different pathways. So you can see the whole map at once, but you don't necessarily know what each thing is.
Okay.
So as you're traveling on, you get to locations, and I don't know, you must have heard of Incarnate, the map making
Hell yeah
website. Yeah, I'm a big fan. So I made the maps in Incarnate, and yeah, so it's a forest. It's quite close in, and there's locations. There's a cave over here. There's a bridge here. There's some sort of ruined structure here. There's an abandoned mine here. There's right at the top. There's a temple-y, crypty looking thing, and each location has a little bit of parchment with an entry number on it. And when you get to that location, you turn to that entry number. In the pathways between, there's a number on each path. So when you get to, you're traveling up this path, going north from the mine, for example, there's a 3 on the path. So you, using a standard deck of playing cards, you flip 3 cards from the timer deck, which represents the time that's passed. You don't want that to run out. And then you flip 3 cards from the encounter deck, and so you might pull out an ace of diamonds, an 8 of clubs, and a queen, or something like that. The queens represent traps. The aces represent items that you've found, and any club that you pull out is a monster. So it's a modified playing deck. You only take select cards from it. It's 29 cards you end up with, and the remaining 23 cards you use as your timer deck. So yeah, that's what I'm working on at the moment.
That sounds awesome.
It's a combination of game book and board game, basically, and I'm hoping to get that finished in like 3 weeks' time. That'll be up on the guild when it's done, kind of thing. The first installment in that is Tables of Doom 1, which is kind of the precursor to the Toolbox in a lot of ways. It's 2 short adventures in 1 book, and a lot of the encounters are determined by rolling on random tables and items that you find and that sort of thing. So,
and I'll make sure there's a link in the show notes for that as well.
Yeah, I'll send all those links. Send those through.
So before we first of all before we close out here, I want to say thank you very much for coming on the show and talking to us about the Solo Adventurers Toolbox.
Thanks for having me yet again.
Indeed.
It's great.
Would you like to give yourself one more plug?
Yeah, I'll just say if you want to find the Toolbox, it's been sitting at number 1 on the DMsguild bestseller list for the last 6 weeks. It's just dropped to number 2. It's been knocked off the top spot by a product called the Faithful of Eberron, which looks really good. But yeah, it's easy to find. Just go on DMsguild.com. If you haven't found DMsguild yet, you need to check it out. It's an amazing website full of amazing content, created by the D&D community. And once you find that, go and click on the link 5e Solo Gamebooks, and you'll be able to see all my products on there. So,
I believe if you also type in BC Beats, your content shows up as well.
Really?
If I'm not
It does?
mistaken, let me double check. It's either
maybe
it was Paul.
That's my Facebook name.
Yeah, maybe that's Paul that goes in there. Hang on.
Yeah.
Oh, it was Paul.
It's got a DMsguild has just recently put up a whole bunch of really helpful tags, and one that they've added is solo adventures. So if you go in and type in solo adventures, you'll see every single solo adventure that's on the guild. Also, go onto Facebook and type in Dungeons and Dragons solo adventures, and you'll see my Facebook group, which has about 1,500 members now. So it's growing fast, and we've got a huge list of every available 5th edition solo adventure in the pin post there.
I see
your. So it's yeah.
No, sorry, go ahead.
There's a couple of free solo adventures on there as well. There's all sorts of resources that are always getting put up by members of the page. So it's a good little page to be part of, I think, if you're interested in that sort of thing.
Yeah, I see the rating on your solo adventures is huge. It looks like a 5-star rating on both the Death Knight Squire as well as Tyrant of Zentel Keep. So
yeah,
big stuff, and apparently yeah, that's awesome. So
they're going well. They're going really well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us today. Go ahead.
I was agreeing with you.
Oh, okay. Thank you for joining us today. We hope that you enjoyed your experience here with us.
Yeah, always.
You came back, so that's awesome.
I don't know why.
Me neither.
Well, it was actually me who said, "When are you going to get me on the show again?"
Oh, I don't even remember that. I just remember putting you on the checklist of people to contact again. So, once again, thank you for joining us. When the episode releases, we will also release like a tag to your product. I will send you an email with the links for Facebook and Twitter, and you can share that with your fans if you want and all that jazz. So, Ed Tate says thank you for the insight into solo gaming. So,
thank you for having me. I was going to hang around and stuff, but I been getting a few text messages. I'm going to need to head off back to work, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's like the middle of the day for you, isn't it?
It's 1:15 right now. So yeah.
He texted me. He's like, so what time is that in New Zealand time? I was like, I don't know. I don't live there. Turns out it's noon. All right. Well, thank you very much, Paul, for joining us today, and you have a fantastic day and keep being awesome. All right.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
See you next time.
See you around.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, I think I just closed the window and it went away on our stream.
That's exactly what happened.
That's totally my bad, people.
Darg.
I don't know how to fix that. So what I'm going to do is
an OBS?
Yeah. Well, it's running through Zoom first. Let's hear if there we go. That works.
That works.
All right. Uh-oh, that said something weird. What's that say?
Okay, I am going to switch from phone to iPad.
The iPad? All right, so thank you once again, Paul, for joining us, a.k.a. BC Beats, which is baller alias, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So before we move on to our final segment, we have one more gift to give away. Compliments of Loresmith. Ian, who's our winner today?
Our winner today is, well, it's a mouthful, Fashbinder X Gaming. I think we lose subscribers the time you dance.
No. Dude, I got an email today from somebody. He's like, what is going on during that music when somebody gives away? You guys are always giggling or chuckling. Is there some inside joke? And I'm like,
Justin's
you have no
grabbing
idea.
his nipples and twerking up on my face and shit.
Congratulations, Fash Binding X Gaming. We hope you enjoy your adventure. Please, if you do, let Lord Smith know. Leave him a review. Let him know what you think, what you didn't like, and help him improve his product moving forward. Oh yeah, all of you guys, check out the links to. We have links in our show notes to BC Beat Solo Adventure. Click on that affiliate link. There'll also be a link at our website. Check it out.
Check it out. Check it out. Check it out. Check it out.
Come on, Brandon. Dance like you did in the pre-show posting.
Oh yeah, I
Oh,
cannot believe you posted that. What is wrong with you?
Many things, but we all know that.
The
That's
fans would rather see my hips move than your titties.
You do not know that.
Okay.
Your hips may not lie, but my milkshake brings them all to the yard.
Wow.
Oh my god. That's just right off the top.
That's funny. Where are we at? So our first unearthed tips and trick today is the character concept, word of mouth knowledge. I love this idea. An illiterate bard. Now, I originally heard like this an idea like this in a very short tweet somewhere, but it wasn't fleshed out. So I went through and I fleshed it out very thoroughly. An illiterate bar of lore, or another character who focuses on the gaining of knowledge, but the bard I think works the best.
Well, yeah.
All of his knowledge and lore in history is from word of mouth. Every secret is shared as a long line of information chained from one person to the next, adding useless details into the string for added fun. Have you guys seen Ant-Man?
Yep.
The guy who
Louise
who does the storytelling? This is what this is. So I wrote up a short example here. So, I heard a secret from Jondon, the loner at the Rushing Boar Tavern during a wine tasting, which has sweet. I got to get in the tone. Hang on, give me a second. All right. I heard a secret from Jondon, the loner at the Rushing Boar Tavern during a wine tasting, which was sweets, and, I don't like sweets, but there was some bourbon toe. That really saved the day, which was wonderful. Yeah, anyway, he was telling me about this girl of a friend we used to, go thieving with, named Rosea, who was the first girl I ever kissed, though it was only on the cheek. It was nice, though. Anyway, she heard it from a thief named... She heard it from a... God damn it. She heard it from a... Damn it! She heard it from a thief named Dracus, whose mother is a maidservant for this big shot adventurer who is, retired now, but is loaded. She told Dracus, who told Rosea, who told my friend that informed me about the secret at the retired adventurer's party over in Waterdeep, who heard it from a spellcaster who was actually there in the crags when it happened.
What the fuck?
Oh my god, if you can just make shit up on the fly, this would be an amazing character concept.
Yeah.
I need to make an Arcana check. Actually, yeah, let me tell you about the sigil, the sigil. I heard it from this girl down at the tavern. I'm not even going to do that again because that was a lot, but you guys get the idea. What do you guys think of this?
Well, the base concept of you get a lesson from word of mouth, that actually is how bards used to learn stuff back in the day.
So it really fit.
Yeah.
You just gas Ian.
Edit that out.
It was loud.
Oh my god.
I'm
Anyways.
holding my breath.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, you're right. You're right on. And so this really fits that sort of theme. But
Yeah.
if you're a guy who can BS his way through, or what you can do is just write a collection of these things that are general enough that it's just a piece of knowledge and you can just toss them in. You can write several of these. And I even say after you get through like 10 of them, you can just reuse some of them because the players would probably forget.
Yep.
You know what I mean? What do you think, Brandon?
How to get so irritated so quickly?
As a player at the table?
Yeah.
Why?
It's just because we're sitting there and they're telling stories like, we should go to this place because so-and-so knows this other person who told me, who also knows this other person who came forward, and they said that there's a special treasure here. I'm pretty sure it's true because he's got a good reputation.
I don't know. I thought this was hilarious, and I love Louise from Ant-Man.
I think everybody loves it. Actually, I think one of my favorite clips I saw online was like I want to hear the adventures retold from this guy.
They should have done that. So, anyways, I really like this concept. I think it requires a little bit more prep than most concepts because, I mean, if you sat down and wrote like 10 of these, you'd be set for a while. But it is a little bit more work unless you can just ad-lib stuff right from the hip. But anyways, I think this is a fantastic character. Definitely could get on some people's nerves, but who gives a fuck? So that'll do it for our character concept, word of mouth knowledge. Ian, would you like to tell us about our monster variant today?
Sure. Our monster variant today is the Beast Tamer. The origin of this is the Scout. And how you modify it is you take the short sword, get rid of it, put the weapon in its place, and then you replace the longbow with a short bow.
Nay.
Don't you dare.
Troy is still pissed off about that.
Don't you dare.
Crack that whip and watch me nay.
Stop it. The
Whip,
new features.
whip. Watch me nay. No, sorry. I'm not sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Not sorry.
I think we know what's going to be the death of Justin one day. The new features for the Beast Tamer here is the Tamer Companion. The Beast Tamer gains a Beast Companion that accompanies them on their adventures and is trained to fight alongside the Tamer. The Beast obeys Tamer's commands as best as it can, and it takes its turns on the Tamer's initiatives, though it does not take an action unless the Tamer commands it to. The Tamer can use action to verbally command it to attack, dash, disengage, dodge, or the help action. And recommended actions? Recommended pet is the Panther, for it can bounce.
Yeah, gives you a lot of control.
Yeah. And it has, even on top of that, legendary actions. The Beast Tamer gains 2, which is... The Beast Tamer gains 2 legendary actions, choosing from the options below. Only one legendary option can be used at a time, and only at the end of another creature's turn. The Tamer regains spent legendary actions at the start of its turn. Attack. The Beast Tamer pet makes 1 melee attack. Focus on the grapple to keep them pinned. I thought you said there was 2.
Well, that was the copied text, okay?
What's the other legendary action, Justin?
It can take either... There we go. I'm fixing it, hang on. Or it can take... You want to finish it? Or it can take the dash, disengage, dodge, or help action.
Or it can take the attack, disengage... Or it can take the attack, dash, disengage, or dodge actions, or help.
Yeah. So we had an episode where I got really impassioned by the Ranger. And I decided I needed a monster that fit that.
Welcome, Ranger.
Not to be confused with the Power Ranger. I decided I wanted a monster to do that. But one of the shortcomings, which everyone that runs a Beastmaster Hunter knows, is the attacking limitation. So in this case, I treated it as a legendary action. So in one round, not only can the Tamer fight, but so can the pet. Now the Tamer is gimped a little bit because the whip damage and the bow damage is lower, which keeps it pretty well within the CR of even with the multi attack.
Yeah.
Of the within the CR rating. But this gives a single monster encounter a feel of teamwork and just a little bit of love, especially with the Panther being able to pounce and grant the prone position, giving ranged advantage to the Tamer with their whip. What do you guys think of this? Cracking that whip? The licorice whip. Dun, 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 dun.
I think it'd make for a fun fight.
Oh yeah? How so?
Because you don't know really which one to worry about more.
That's actually pretty good.
Yeah. I'm actually always happy to see a Beast Companion work.
Yeah.
That,
I hope this works.
Get an email a few days later. Your shit's broken again.
I haven't got one of those yet, but
yeah.
I make mistakes, like typos all the time though. So, yeah, I really like this thing. I wanted a good beast tamer monster, and this was a good way to do that and still keep it relatively balanced. I think it would be fun, and I think you could have a really good storyline where the players I love misunderstandings, and having the players kill this creature, this Tamer's pet, could really create an opportunity of loss. Because what if, let's say, it's a young halfling and the panther's his pet, right? And the players kill the panther first, and now this person who is the enemy stops mid combat to start crying and gushing over or not gushing, tearing up over the loss of their companion that they've had since they were a child or something. It's not, for me, it's another opportunity when the players become murder hobos to add a little bit of remorse and regret to the fight.
Unless you're Steve.
Or Dennis.
Skullfucker.
Yeah. Apparently Ed says...
Oh, I hate...
Sticks and stones may break my bones, but whips and chains excite me.
Yeah, that's Rihanna, right? Didn't her man beat her and she make a big deal about it?
I don't know.
Did she make that song before or
She
after
got a little
that?
too excited.
Anyways, it is not okay to hit women. Unless they hit you back. Or hit you first.
First, they hit you back.
I might get in trouble for that one. I know some people don't agree with me. You should never hit a woman. Yeah, but if a woman punches me in the nose...
Hold up, I'm confused. Is
Kick
it
her in the
more
puss.
success to hit you or not hit you? I'm really confused right now.
No. It's never good to hit anybody. You should not hit people. We love people.
Abuse is bad.
Yes, period. Anyways. So that'll do it for our monster variant. Our encounter of the podcast is...
The 100 Monster Hunts. Insert link. It's a bounty advertisement. My ring has been stolen. I chased the thief into the old swamp, but quickly turned and ran when the carrion appeared. It grabbed the bandit with its rubbery tendrils and dragged him into the stagnant depths. I am but a poor old man. There's no way I can face such a beast. Any adventurer is willing to slay the beast in return. My ring to me shall forever have my gratitude. You can end me. What the fuck?
I'm sure that's
Fine.
a typo.
You can find me near the Fountainside Tavern, across the road from the Dilly Dally General Store. Look for a bedroll near the left alleyway, and ask for Greethen.
This is interesting. So I found this this PDF on DMsguild called 100 Monster Hunts. It's basically 100 billboard or what are the job boards.
Bulletin board.
Yeah, it's a big bulletin job board thing, and it has a bunch of really interesting encounters. In this one, it sets it up with basically an advertisement that he wrote up on a board. They wrote up on a board. And then it gives you a little quest detail saying, Greethen is a homeless man living in the streets who had his late wife's ring stolen from him by a bandit. After following the bandit, he saw him eaten alive by an Otuga. I don't know if that's how you say that.
Otuga.
The Otuga.
Atiof.
Master Manual, page 248.
Yeah, that thing. It lurks in stagnant waters of the old swamp and lures people in by tricking them deceptively. With deceptive telepathy. The party will find the rings stuck between the creature's teeth.
Where did that
that's
tiger
fun.
keep the 16 silver?
I really like this encounter idea. It's very simple. It's a recover the item instead of slay the monster. But in this case, you probably got to slay the monster. But you really don't need to, and that's why this jumped out at me. It just says you got to recover this thing. Now, sure, the ring is between the creature's teeth. But I think this is a great opportunity for a rogue to shine. A good stealth mission, sneaking in and pulling this thing off its teeth. If you can get the jump on it, you could probably avoid an entire combat encounter.
Or was it with telekinesis spell? Just saying.
Or mage hand, yeah, either of those. So this is and that's why this stood out to me. It's because the goal isn't just to kill the monster; it's you have to recover this thing. And there's so many different tools in your toolbox. Let's see what I did there. We just had Anyway, to recover it and. It seems like a straightforward go kill this thing and then get it, but you don't really have to. So I like to put players in those situations to see what kind of solution they have. Now everyone says, I need experience, I need to kill anything, but you don't need to kill something to get experience. Just complete the request. So, what do you guys think about this adventure or this encounter?
I think it'd be fun. And the concept that what if one of the players die and they finally kill it and they get the ring? They're like, yes. And then at the end of the game session, like, you didn't have to kill it. All you need to do is get the ring.
Be like, what? Especially if it's a hard encounter, right? A really challenging fight. Like they're getting their ass kicked and halfway through. Wait. Dennis, while you're in that thing's mouth, just hold his mouth open for a second so I can grab it. I don't know how long I can hold it. Just so I can get the ring. I can't hold it any longer. I got the ring. I'm going to die. Oh, well, I got the ring already. See you later. Anyways, I like this encounter. Definitely check out the 100 monster hunts. I'm thinking we'll do an episode on it because there's so many good things. So it'll be a whole episode of just all these great different encounters we can talk about. So
I'd love to see someone get creative, like a barbarian grabs a giant log, jumps into its mouth, and just
sticks it in there.
Pops up so it holds his mouth open. It's like, okay, just runs off.
I like stuff like that. So that'll do it for our encounter of the podcast. The bounty advertise.
Wow.
I don't know
100 monster hunts.
Yeah, that'll bring the fuck, Justin. That'll do it for our encounter. The bounty advertisement, the stolen ring from the 100 monster hunts. I know you just went, but you're supposed to get this one.
Okay.
I need your Deckard cane.
The magic item for this week is the glove of the augmented hand. This black glove, leather glove, is... What the fuck?
You know what? I'm half asleep when I write this shit. Just go with it.
This black leather glove is embossed with an image of a floating hand carrying a small dagger. While wearing this glove, the spell mage...
Mage hand.
Sorry, I had a thing on my screen.
You got distracted.
While wearing this glove, the spell mage hand is augmented. Mage hand spell can now lift up to 20 pounds. Additionally, it can wield a weapon without the heavy or two-handed property. You can use your action command, your mage hand to... What? You can use your action to command your mage hand to make an attack on a target you can see within range with disadvantage.
Okay.
What do you guys think about this?
I think it's useful for the Arcane Trickster Rogue.
That's actually, this item was designed for an Arcane Trickster. There's a lot of limitations on the mage hand, weight being one, the fact you can't attack with it being another.
Well, to be fair, it is a cantrip.
Fair, you're absolutely right. It is a cantrip. I decided that instead of trying to come up with an item that imbues them with some unique power, how about enhancing something that could be useful in more ways than one? Because I cannot count how many times I've been asked, why can't I attack with my mage hand?
Because it's not that strong.
It's not that strong. It's not that agile. Like, there's a special feature in the Arcane Trickster that lets you pick locks with it because it's not as nimble as a normal hand.
It's like asking a 3-year-old to attack somebody.
Yeah. Ed actually asked why disadvantage. Because it requires a melee target or advantage to get a sneak attack bonus, and I didn't want my Arcane Trickster getting sneak attack all the time from a safe distance with a floating hand. And it kind of balances. So there is a chance that they can offset the disadvantage.
Yeah.
And still have a standard chance, but it's never going to be as nimble as their normal attacking. And that was kind of why I thought that it needed that restriction. I haven't played with it a lot yet, so I don't know if it needs that. That was me trying to balance it.
Use a mage hand to swipe a dagger off your enemy and stab him with it.
What?
He gets it.
I honestly, I was reading Tate's thing.
Using mage hand to steal a dagger from your enemy and stab him with it.
Oh, that is pretty cool.
Especially if they're not paying attention.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, there's a gun!
And I know this is something that's a little more out of my comfort zone when it comes to balancing.
Yeah.
Because I'm not... Players can be creative as shit, and Mage Hand is one of those things that there's like 1,000,001 uses, and it only takes one to make it unbalanced. So I tried to be very careful with that. But I didn't want them getting a bunch of sneak attacks off with it or something like that from a distance. Anyways. Because then it started to treat it kind of like the Guardian. What is the Guardian spell that makes the weapons?
Oh, crap.
I gotta stop. It was a Guild Wars 2 reference there, not D&D.
Spiritual weapon?
Spiritual weapon. It was getting kind of close to that kind of area thing, you know? But anyways, I like this magic item. I thought it was a cool way to enhance the arcane trickster. Obviously, a regular wizard or spellcaster with mage hand can use it too. But it is designed specifically for an arcane trickster. So that'll do it for our magic item, the Glove of the Augmented Hand. Ian, do you want to take our Dungeon Master tip?
Why, most certainly. Our Dungeon Master tip of the day comes from Game Master Stash. And today's Dungeon Master tip is small spaces. Adventurers are used to 5-foot squares and hallways being the narrowest possibilities. So, when you shove them to a tight space, like an ever-shrinking tunnel or under a house, their usual approach won't work. Well, I guess maybe unless you're a halfling, but well, it doesn't have to talk into itself. The fighter becomes no good because there is no room to fight. The stealthy character has nowhere to hide, and with everyone in a single file, the wizard in the back is pretty vulnerable. It's nearly impossible to carry a torch while crawling, so characters with dark vision will have to lead the others by touch and sound. The key to using these small spaces to their max level is to add fear to an already uncomfortable situation. Maybe they're fleeing something or chasing someone. Have them hear things or have them see movement just past their vision. When creating a combat encounter in such a space, it helps to think outside the box and remember anything you throw at them will be hard to fight for the group. Use things like this every so often to help keep your players on their toes and deflates any potential big heads.
Can we just fucking throw a fart in my face?
I got to say, that would absolutely suck to encounter a gelatinous cube in this situation.
Yeah. I read this on the DMs.
Crawl back.
I read this on Game Master Stash, and this is something I don't think we've talked a lot. And they made a really good point that when was the last time you were in an adventure where a metric less than 5 foot squared came into play?
Not very often.
And so that kind of goes back to like those variations you can add to your adventure. Well, everyone scales a wall. Well, what if there's like fucking barbed wire or something on it? But you can, knock out a small hole, but only one person can fit through.
Yep. And actually, what this made me think of is like the first episode of the anime Goblin Slayer.
Dude, I literally started to watch that the other day, and it wouldn't play.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, so I'm gonna watch again tomorrow. I got tomorrow off.
But like the main character in that one though is a adventurer whose specialization is killing goblins, and he also criticized the fact that, minor spoiler alert, the party that died basically died because they were unprepared and they're just goblins. We'll kill them, no problem. They're pretty weak. It's like, yeah, but I specialize in killing goblins. This is why I wear lightweight armor for maneuverability. And your idiot fighter got killed because his sword is too big for confined spaces. Because goblins live in confined spaces. This is why I use short swords.
I heard Goblin Slayer is a jacked up anime.
The first episode was pretty jacked up, but the ones after that so far, anyway, hasn't been so bad.
I'll have to watch it. Maybe I'll watch it tomorrow after I edit some of the show stuff.
On?
Crunchyroll. But apparently it was originally a series of light novels. Then became a manga. But apparently the manga, unlike the light novels, dialed it up to like berserk levels of what the crap.
I really like this tip. This is a really great tip. Thank you, Game Master Stash. I think this is very valuable knowledge, and I think DMs can use this for all kinds of evil.
Yep.
We've had the questions, what should I do if my character player is too fast or my character is just strong and mows through anything? Put them in a confined space and then pour oil down it and light it on fire.
Or they fight small enemies that to them this is a normal sized tunnel.
Oh yeah, even whether it's I can't think like a pixie or something
or goblin
goblin.
Or just the fucking
I'm thinking really small like
raccoon.
military crawling,
Right.
A rabbit raccoon is called Scratch. Like, you got 3 days to live.
They can't get out and it's just scratching them repeatedly. Cat did that shit to me. It hurt like hell. That'll do it for our Dungeon Master tip. Small spaces. Thank you, Game Master Stash. Our player tip of the podcast is
Don't be a dick.
And you can avoid dickitude by using a solo adventure to build your character's backstory and history in a form that isn't just written.
Oh, that was clever.
Yeah. Thank you. I literally changed that player tip 3 times today.
Yeah, that's great.
We always, as players, we always write these very cool backstories about what our character did and how they became a hero and all that stuff. With solo adventures, you can literally live that adventure, that story, and you can tell the players about it. The other thing that's interesting is there's a lot of people who want to that play the older stuff want to say, hey, how do I want to start the characters as like 0 level, right? You know, this is a tool you could use to do that. And you could start them off in a village, and the village is assaulted, and they're forced to pick up their pitchfork and defend it. And you can use the Solo Adventures Toolbox or any one of the published adventures by BC Beats or any other sources to really live out that kind of story. So when you come to the table of the history of your character, it's not just a paragraph. You might shorten it to a paragraph, but you can remember exact scenarios, the name of the big guy who did it, all these different things to really make your character truly fleshed out in a way that somebody who just wrote it can't.
Yep.
What do you guys think about that tip?
I thought it was clever, like I said.
I think it'd be more fun than just sitting down and being like, okay, so what was I? Okay, I was a farmer. Farm was attacked. I became an adventurer. Yay. No, now you got this entire adventure that you can do yourself and be like, I have this awesome story, but I can't write it all down on the sheet of paper.
Well, and I think it works better too because there's some people who don't find that part of the game interesting. So if I don't like to write backstories, I can run something like this and play the game as my backstory and then talk about it.
Back in the day when I was the E-level 0 farmer or militiaman.
It's your very own prequel.
That's basically what it is. So... but anyways, I think this is a really powerful tool. Like I said, whether it's BC Beats content or somebody else's, utilize this. The one thing we didn't really talk about is that this is a powerful tool to play and test character concepts.
Yeah.
And different combinations of abilities, because you hear about it from the guys in D&D Character Labs. They, D&D Character Lab, they started their show because they compulsively build characters, right? And in so many, they'll never get to play them. Solo Adventures will allow you to do that. So definitely check them out. That'll do it for our player tip. Don't be a dick, and you can avoid dickitude by using Solo Adventures to build your backstory.
Yeah.
So that'll do it for our show today. Before we close out, we have one more gift to give away. Compliments of Jeff Stevens. Brandon.
Yep.
Who's our winner today?
Our winner today is Ian Lewis 21, the first person to win all of our prizes.
Sorry, can you start again?
Okay. Our winner today is Ian Lewis 21, the first person to win all of our prizes.
Like a SOB.
Yeah.
And we've lost a follower.
Yeah.
That's the only reason he listens.
Got him. I'm done.
Joke's on you.
That's funny. Fuck you guys, I'm gone. Shit.
Is that next episode really episode 100? Dang.
Yes, but we will not be recording episode 100 next. Because it's live, so it won't record until the week after this episode airs. So next week we'll be recording episode 101.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Ah!
We're 3 weeks behind. We're 3 episodes behind. So.
I know, but
Yeah. I don't think I have a topic on here. Yes, I do.
How much luck does this guy need? How many listeners do we have a pool of that we pull names from?
About 600.
Yeah, keep rolling your 20s.
Hey, at that con yesterday I went to, at the end, you roll off for a certificate for $10 worth of is it basically $10 yesterday for Paizo's website?
Mm-hmm.
I won both of them yesterday in both adventures I was in.
Fat Lewis. So congratulations, Ian Lewis, 21, on all your wins. We hope you enjoy this adventure. If you do, please let Jeff Stevens know. Leave him a review. That's some of the best help you can give any content creator. So Please join us on our next episode where we will be hearing feedback from you, our heroes. We will be having our live show, so please join us. It'll be on I gotta go check
September?
Here. No,
Yeah,
fuck, that's definitely
that's
not
a year
right.
away.
It'll be the 18th because this is.
Yeah, we're taking a break. That's October.
Is it? It's the 18th. I think it's. Hang on a second.
No, wait, that's November. Yeah.
That made me think of a webcomic.
I had to check because I
About
didn't write it down
Minecraft?
like an idiot.
Man, I spent all this time and I built a 2-scale replica of the Citadel, Half-Life 2, using pure 100% obsidian. Wow, this is great. How long did it take you? Is it summer yet? It's October. A while.
97, 98.
It's one of the things I don't like about Minecraft is when you build your world up and you got your house and everything, and you stop playing for a while, but you have several different files, and you go into one,
The
and
18th.
you don't recognize anything.
Right.
Like,
So
where the fuck am I?
our live show will be on November 18th at 7 p.m. Eastern, which won't be daylight savings time anymore. Right? So please come and join us. We're gonna stream right to YouTube. It'll be live stream, no editing, so you'll get to jump in and add to the comments and terrorize us much like Ed does, or judge us much like Sam does. You'll be able to really get involved. I have a special plan for that, so I'm going to keep the topic and stuff under wraps for now. But please come and join us. Tell all your friends. If you're not doing anything, it's Sunday night. What the fuck could you be doing? Nothing. It's Sunday night. Nobody does shit on Sunday. So come join us. Come hang out. Come kick it. Even if you jump in and say hi.
Hi.
So, what do you mean? Why so late? We always record at 7. I'm confused. Ed's really starting to show his age.
I think Tears being Tater.
Tater's being Tater. His old age is getting to him. So please come and join us on our live show. Tell a friend, like us on Facebook, all that, or come follow us. Follow us on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel.
It does exist.
Yeah, I forget.
Don't think about it, Tater.
Shouldn't it be the 3rd?
It's because the 4th is daylight savings time.
No, what 3rd? 3rd of what?
November?
November 4th is daylight savings.
I think it's confused by the fact that we're going by post date of the episodes, not record date.
Not recorded date, yeah. This week, episode 97 is going to release.
Right.
So,
He did say the.
I did say the 18th. I think you're making me more confused than I was.
That's not hard.
Oh, Jesus. If you have any feedback on our tips and tricks or topics you'd like us to discuss, please send them to us. You can email them to us at critacademy@gmail.com or find us on Twitter and Facebook at Crit Academy. Also, come and follow us on YouTube. Type in Crit Academy at YouTube because I'm pretty sure we're not cool enough to have a little Crit Academy thing.
But your Patreon pals is the 3rd.
That is true. I'm still confused.
It's still going to be at 7 because clocks don't turn back until 2 a.m.
And it really sucks to be awake when it changes over.
Not really. I like it. I like fall because we set the clocks back an hour, so we get extra sleep.
That's not
Spring's what
whatever.
gets
Yeah, Tater. Yeah, never mind. You're confusing me. If my phone doesn't tell me it's 7 o'clock, the show will be based on what this tells me. This changes on its own.
We hope you've enjoyed your experience here at the Crit Academy. If you did, you can help others find the show by leaving a hopefully 5-star review on iTunes or platform of your choice. Or just send us a message telling us how much you enjoy the show.
If you have any feedback, unearthed tips and tricks, or a topic you'd like to discuss, please send them to us. You can email them to us at critacademy@gmail.com, or you can find us on Twitter and Facebook at Crit Academy.
He did that.
Yeah.
You've taken too long.
This episode is brought to you by our generous Patreon donors. Head on over to our Patreon page and check out all the cool reward tiers. If you think our show is worth just $1 a month, please come on in and support us. If you don't want to if that doesn't interest you, you can You can commission Brandon to do some art, full color body art for $12, for $20, or line art for $8.
$12, I quit.
Or go to our critacademy.com and click on our I don't even know what I have it labeled as there. Click on our pick up a t-shirt. Check out our merchandise. We got all kinds of stuff. We got a school wall scroll.
Yep.
It's pretty baller. But while you're there, make sure to subscribe to, chain moving the order really fucked me up. While you're there, make sure to subscribe to our show at critacademy.com so we can help you on your future adventures, as well as be entered to win cool prizes each and every week. You'll also find links to our fellowship members there. If you haven't listened to them already, check out D&D Character Lab. Garen and Dan do an awesome job of creating very thorough characters and arguing their validity in game. They pull characters ideas from all over the DM's guild. So they've got monster characters when they build them. They have...
I totally thought you were going to say out their butt, but okay.
No, well, that too. I mean, their characters are pretty out there sometimes. But they have a wide range of sources that they pull from, so check them out. Of course, you have Inter-Party Conflict. Gabe and Jeff doing a wonderful job of answering your questions to help deliver the best tabletop experience possible. You can also head on over to DMsguild. I can't recommend Jeff Stevens' content enough. He's got some really good... amazing content coming out right now. So check him out. I am your host, Justin.
I'm your co-host, Brandon.
I'm your co-host, Ian.
Thanks for listening.
Keep your ready? Keep your blades sharp and spells prepared, heroes. Alrighty, thank you guys for joining us today.
I'm not going to lie, I'm actually shocked that not one of us mentioned Red Dead Redemption 2.
I'm not interested in that game, but you're more than welcome to.
Well, I only played the first one, though, which I didn't actually finish. Looking back, now that the second game's coming, I'm like, wait, why didn't I finish the first one? I think it's one of the things where you start playing a game after a while.
See you later, buddy. Thanks for joining.
Shows up, then you forget.
Bye, Tate.
Bye.